right, Nick, let's talk about the LSU Tigers with early signing day right around the corner, just a few days from now. Teams are getting ready, fans are getting ready to see who they get. But LSU isn't going to wait until then. They've hit the transfer portal and got some interesting playmakers before their big bowl game. These players are really interesting additions, and it's something that we can talk about before everything that is about to happen here very soon. Let's get into these tweets and we can talk about them on the other side. The first one we're going to bring up is former Texas A&M DB Jardin Gilbert has committed to LSU. The 6'1", 200-pound safety played in 23 games for the Aggies. He had 79 tackles and 2 interceptions in his time at Texas A&M. I think this is a really interesting piece for LSU here. I think it's a really good one because they're very good at developing DBs, and Texas A&M has had a lot of talent come in and out of there lately. I think this will be a very good fit for this Brian Kelly-led team. But we're not stopping there. There's one more player on the other side of the ball, and let's get through that one, then we can talk about them all as well. This, of course, was LSU wide receiver transfer. Former Mississippi State wide receiver Xaven Thomas has committed to LSU. The 6', 190-pound wide receiver appeared in 22 games for the Bulldogs and was named a freshman All-American in 2022. He'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Once again, LSU also great at developing wide receivers. We can see the Bengals, they are filled with LSU players all around the ball. Jamar Chase, notably, one of the big ones. You look at OBJ, look at Jarvis Landry. LSU, really, really great in the wide receiver department as well. So I think this is a great, I'd be remiss if I left out Justin Jefferson as well. But this is a great addition for LSU. I think a very productive receiver at Mississippi State. Very interesting. And Nick, I want to know what your thoughts are on this one. But LSU fans, once again, we talked about it. ReliaQuest Bowl, January 1st, playing against Wisconsin. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think the final score to that game is going to be? But Nick, what are your first thoughts on these pickups for the Tigers?
So I think the most important thing is the DB. I think that's very clear because the reality is LSU fans know this. Anyone who's watched college football this past season for more than 5 seconds know that LSU, phenomenal on offense, thanks, of course, to Jane Daniels, but gosh darn god-awful, terrible on defense, right? This is a deep team defensively that finished bottom 3 in the SEC in points per game, yards per game, passing yards allowed per game. Do you know who was really good defensively in a lot of those stats? Was Texas A&M, surprisingly. Texas A&M's downfalls were actually on offense. They had a lot of talent, to your point, Mize, on the defensive side of the ball, and bringing in Gilbert will help address a lot of those defensive woes for LSU. Because one of the things we talk about all the time on this channel is how much big-time college football has become like the NFL game. In the NFL game, if you got an immediate need, you go to the free agency, you make a trade, you bring in a veteran, a known commodity to come and address that immediate need, and you use the draft to develop for the long term. It's very similar with college football. You use the recruiting game to develop for the long-term lifeblood of your program. But if you have a short-term immediate need, you can use the transfer portal to make sure you go out and get it addressed. And that's exactly what Coach Kelly and the LSU Tigers did right here. Gilbert's a guy who comes from a good program that has a lot of talent. The issues have been mainly on the offensive side with their coaching. In terms of the defensive coaching and talent level at Texas A&M, it's second pretty much only to Alabama and Georgia over the past few seasons, or third, I should say, to Alabama and Georgia over the past few seasons. I think this is a great get for LSU. Again, I think it's smart. It's opportunistic. A&M has a lot of guys leaving College Station right now. This is an opportunity for LSU to take some of those guys, take advantage of a weakness in the rival, and get some of the more talented guys into their house. Great job by LSU for going out and executing it, and great job for recognizing, although it's pretty obvious to the college football world, that their defense was terrible and they need a short-term fix as well as a long-term fix. Long-term fix will be recruiting. We'll see what they do over the next few days and weeks and months with the first signing day and the later signing day in the spring. And then, of course, the short-term answer is going out the transfer portal, which is exactly what Gilbert will help address here.
And Nick, the one thing we really need to talk about here is something that's kind of under the radar unless you look in these guys' backfield. These are 2 guys, they are not coming to LSU, they're coming home. Both guys from Louisiana.
Yep,
Gilbert from Baton Rouge, Thomas from Marrero, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Louisiana. Both guys from the heart of Louisiana. So in a way, we talk about in recruiting, you gotta win your home field. This is kind of similar in the transfer portal. That is something that you can pitch. You get two talented guys in the transfer portal. One of your pitches is, hey, come back home, come to Louisiana, be home, play football here. Maybe it wasn't working out exactly how you wanted over in Texas, over in Mississippi. Come back to Louisiana, and that is what the Tigers were able to do here. Two Louisiana guys coming home. Feels good for the fans, probably feels good for the players as well, but a big win for LSU to get two in-state recruits coming back home to LSU.